Hey, folks, I wanted to jump into a little discussion here that I actually kind of got started on Facebook, and it was such a moving kind of topic for me, something that I think I've been pretty transparent about sharing with and talking about and telling people about is the whole money situation with becoming a pro fisherman and like how to do it. And I don't know that I can give much direction on how everybody else can do it, but I could always share my story. The conversation, if you don't follow me on Facebook, I wish you guys, maybe I'll leave a link in the description box if you want to follow me on Facebook. But sometimes, I'll put up just different discussion topics about fishing and careers and just all over the board when it comes to fishing. And this one was about, I was just kind of expressing that I thought it'd be cool if more anglers, professional anglers, would share their stories of how they became a pro. Because there's this narrative going on right now that is so false and so far from the truth from the majority of us that the anglers are having like dumb amounts of wealth before they turn pro, and parents paying for everything. And I'm gonna try to turn my phone on silent here so I don't lose my train of thought. There's probably a few people where that's the case. The overwhelming majority of us started out with very little to no money because you're crazy about fishing. If you're crazy about fishing, you don't have any money because you dump all your money back into fishing, so you just don't have a lot of money. Most of us didn't have a nice truck or boat. This somehow you still ended up becoming a pro. I know that was definitely the story for me, and I mean almost all of my friends, the same deal. We kind of started out fishing locally. You had a truck that wasn't working. You had a boat that was barely making it, and you just kind of kept building on that. So, people always ask, how do you pay for it? For beginners, if you're fishing locally right now and you're wondering how are you gonna, it seems impossible to quote unquote afford a career in bass fishing, that's normal. That's kind of the way it's supposed to be. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. Yes, it's an elitist sport. Every sport is an elitist sport. If everybody could do it, it wouldn't be a professional sport. You have to work up to that level. So chances are, if you're fishing locally, you're right where you're supposed to be for right now, for the work you've put in, for the time you've devoted to it. You're right where you're supposed to be if you can't afford it. Nobody can start off affording it. I didn't start off being able to afford it. So that's right, that's normal, that's not awkward, that's never gonna change. It's always gonna be like that. So just get ready, it's always gonna be like that, okay? So I wanted to dispel that right off. And I know me making this video doesn't make it all go away, but for a very select few of you that really want to know the truth, that's who I'm talking to in this video. I know it'll still be comments saying, whatever about it and yeah. But you can do this. I mean, you can do it. It may take you a long time. You might be able to do it in 3 years. You might be able to do it in 15. It might take 20. I don't know. And if any of those numbers scare you, you should probably keep on working your day job. It would be my suggestion to you. If the idea of 15 years being too long to obtain a career in this industry, I would say it's probably not for you. So, as I mentioned, it's spurred off by some of the comments that I saw, and I was really thankful Jordan Lee actually went and shared his story on this post that I put on my Facebook page, and he shared a little bit of his story in the comment section. So you should go read his story there. It was I was able to actually watch Jordan come through the opens, and so far I was competing in the opens at the same time, and you don't really have an appreciation for how good he is unless you've actually competed against Jordan. you don't understand how good he is. So I was thankful for that. So go read that out too. So I wanted to share a little bit about my story. I have before. I've kind of always, there's bits and pieces that I haven't felt comfortable sharing with. And I feel like every year that I share my story, I share a little bit more that I wasn't comfortable with sharing a few years before. Because there's other people connected, and I feel like if I share every single part of it, like those are really private things that aren't meant for everybody to know, because they include other people, my family, people that I love and that I protect. So, there's little bits and pieces in there that I don't really talk about to the public. I have on one-on-one conversation, I probably would feel more comfortable doing it, but I think I feel more and more comfortable really telling guys what went down over the last 20 years of my life to get to where I am today. And I think I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about that in this video. I didn't have a lot of money, y'all. I started out working with my family business. I used to cut grass. My dad had a lawn care business when I was a kid that expanded over 20 years. It went from just cutting grass to installing landscapes to selling products to actually owning a retail store. My dad grew a business that was just a lawnmower and a truck and a trailer to really just like a landscape dynasty. He's really an inspiration for me. He's grown that business like greatly over the years. But I started out working in that business making $12 an hour is what I used to make. 22, 23 years old, made 12 bucks an hour. There was weeks I would make $300 a week, and there was weeks I would make, a couple $100. So it probably averaged out a year. I was making about $15,000 of reported income. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't making a lot of money, about $15,000. During that time, in my early 20s, I did have a brand new boat and a nice truck. I bought a brand new boat. My first boat that I bought out of school was a Ranger 195 VS on a tandem trailer with a 200 Mercury EFI, a Garmin Fish Finder 240 at the dash, and a Garmin Fish Finder 240 at the bow. Those are 5-inch screens that I use. That's what I started out with. Well, how did you make that making $15,000 a year? I moved out of my parents' house when I was 24, I think it was. I did extra jobs. So the answer, all this video, if you don't remember anything else about this video, the answer to every problem you have about money is extra jobs, extra work. You have to do extra work. In addition to more, you got to do extra things to get the money that you need to get where you want to be. That's the question everybody's trying to answer. Well, how do I get the money? Well, how do I do that? Dude, you live in America. You work, you do extra to get the money. So what I did, making $12 an hour, I would do extra landscaping jobs. So on the weekends, in the summertime, after the BFLs were done, I worked. I didn't get to fish all year long. I picked those 5 tournaments. We had 4 regular season tournaments, and then you had a super tournament, and then you had a regional. Those were the tournaments that I fished. If I had time to fish Club Tough, I would. If I had time to do other things, I would. If I had the money, I would. But I prioritized those BFLs because I knew those were the stepping stones to get where I needed to go. So I did fish those. I did the extra jobs. I did landscaping jobs. I used to draw landscaping jobs. I installed them. I did irrigation. I did a little bit of stonework. I would do extra things to fill in the rest of the money. I was really only making about $15,000 a year. And we're talking 2004 till about 2007. I was making about $15,000 a year. And I would do extra jobs to make, that's not a lot of money it takes to pay for a boat. Back then I was paying $350 a month boat payment, about $350 trip payment. So I needed roughly $700, $800 to pay for my boat and truck every year. You can get that with like 2 jobs. 2 landscaping jobs. That's all it took, you know. And so you can imagine if you did 10 landscaping jobs all year and they roughly were from $2,000 profit to $10,000, there's your boat and truck done and dead for. But you had to do it extra in addition to my normal job, okay? So I did that all the way up until I got married. I won a BFL in 2007. That was like $5,000, $5,500. I took that $5,000. I fished the EverStart series back then, which is the current day Toyota series, which is where I'm at right now. I'm in a hotel in New York fishing the Toyota series. So I was fishing them back in 2008. Used that money to fish those. I absolutely sucked. Then I didn't cash a single check in 2008. My first run on the EverStart series, didn't cash a single one. So that next year, I had to go back down to fishing BFLs. And from 2009 to 2011, 2009, 10, 11, those are hard years for me. In that time period, my dad actually fired me from our landscaping company because I was going too much fishing, trying to make my dream come true and try to do all the things that I needed to do. He's like, dude, you're going too much. Get out of here. I need somebody more consistent, which he did, and I cried about that. It was a terrible time. It was really rough mentally. I don't really talk about that a lot, but that was a tough one to take. It ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. He fired me the next week. I went and got a loan on a $14,000 lawnmower. I had a trailer. I started cutting grass the next week. Keep in mind, at this point, I am 2012. I want to say I'm 27, 28. I got bills, y'all. I got every bill that you got in your house right now. Electric, power, water, car, truck, a wife. We don't have any kids at this point. I got all the things that adults have at this point, and I looked up and I didn't have a job because of fishing. So at that point, I borrowed the $14,000 loan. I bought the lawnmower, started cutting yards. And then I was doing some extra stuff. I started doing some paver jobs. I started doing some a little bit of masonry. I was doing stone masonry. I was installing waterfalls. I used to install waterfalls like koi ponds, and I started doing just any kind of work I could get my hands on. And ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. By the end of that year, the year that I was so depressed and I was like, dude, how am I ever going to get any money to even live, much less make a living fishing or buy a boat or fish tournaments? After that year ended up being like the most money I'd ever made in my entire life at that point. Like had like discretionary cash to like buy rods and reels, and like up until that point, I probably had like five, six, 7 rods, and like now I could go buy a $200 fishing rod if I wanted to, or if I could go to Okeechobee if I wanted to. I could do all the things that I wanted to. I had some money now. Up until that point, I had no money. So the business was growing good, and where were we at now? About 2012, I decided to fish the EverStarts again. And I did well that year. 2012, I did well that year, made the championship. And it was just like a good year. Business was going good. I got a wife now. I got a house. I can pay my bills, and I get to fish, and I'm catching them, right? So that was a good time period. 2013 got even better. I bought a skid steer that year. For you guys that don't know what a skid steer is, it's a bobcat, a tractor. I wanted to continue to grow my business, because I knew that growing my business was going to kind of like be my way out. You know what I mean? Like to get out of this like roller coaster of financial up and down and so forth, to pay my bills and do what I wanted to do. I knew that business was going to be my key. So I bought the skid steer so I could grow my business. I fished the EverStarts one more time, and I did really good. I was like about to qualify for the tour. Like I kind of came to this crossroads of, do you want to fish or do you want to grow this business and make a lot of money? Which one you want to do? And I got to this crossroads. I had a job that I was offered that I bid on that was like a big landscaping job, like a big landscaping job. For me at the time, a $50,000 landscaping job was a big job. Now, depending on what your company is, that is bigger, that's big or small. For me, that was like a set you to flight, get out of here, like I'm about to be flossing in fishing gear type of thing. It was a $50,000 landscaping job. The homeowner screwed me. It was a bad deal. It was a bad deal. That job drained me so much financially that I could not even pay to fish the final Ever Start Series tournament in 2013. I had to withdraw. I didn't have enough money because I had so much money tied up in payroll, the plants, and all the job materials that I ordered for this job, and the homeowner was just being a complete bleep. You put the word in there. Bleep. He was being a complete that. And ended up having to fight to get paid for it. I didn't go, and I kind of felt like I cheated myself. I had worked all this time, and I cheated myself. And at that moment, when I realized what I had done, the next year it became real to me what I had done, how I really kind of wasn't true to myself and was kind of taking this safe road, knowing good and darn well that I really wanted to fish, but it kind of felt good to be financially stable for once in my life, and I was going to kind of like take that just so I could rest. I was really regretful for that, and from that day on, I promised myself that I would never, ever do that again. So from 2013 on, I cheated my company every single chance I could. I took every dime out of my company and put it in fishing every time. Is that smart? Susie Orman would probably tell you no. But I regretted it, the decision I made so bad, and I was just so butthurt about everything that happened and how I could have used all that money to kind of fulfill my dreams, and yet I had some guy that was already rich. I'm over here struggling to take my mortgage, can't go fishing, and he's over in a beach somewhere chilling with my money. I was so regretful of that. I promised myself I would never let it happen again. So I cheated my company for the next few years. And I kept fishing locally. Fish BFLs, sprinkle in here and there. I just kind of had like that whole disruption of that job, just really disrupted everything, but it made it for the better. As bad as it was, it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. Fast forward to 2015, there was basically some openings on the FLW tour. If you had the money, you could get in. And that year, 2015, I was still fishing like some club tournaments, and I was fishing BFLs, just like some local stuff, regional stuff right there at the house. Go to the tournament, pay your entry fee, fish the tournament, go back home, sleep in your bed type tournaments. I was fishing that kind of stuff, and I did really well. 2015, I ended up with like $12,000 that I won that year. And I heard about, they had some openings in the tour. If you call and pay, you might get in. So I tried it, knowing good and well I don't have the $24,000. Back then it was $4,000 entry fee for 4 tournaments. Know good and well I do not have $24,000 in discretionary cash to pay for these entry fees. I decided to do it anyway. I was like, screw y'all. I'm cheating this business. I don't care. I'm leaving this sucker. Like, that's all. I ain't staying here digging no holes, ditches. I done been dirty, my fingernails. I done had enough of landscaping at this point. I'm fed up with it. I'm tired of putting my dreams on hold to make somebody's house look good. I got sick of that. And so I took that $12,000. I paid my deposits. At the time, I think it was $1,000 per tournament, $6,000, and I had $6,000 more to finish the year. Earned $30,000 in winnings that year. Along the way, that year, I gathered a couple sponsors. That year, I had about $20,000 in sponsors. So I was like cash flow positive till like $5,000 or $6,000 my rookie season on tour. And so like the rest is history. They let me taste it, and they should have never let me in the door. They shouldn't let me in the door. They gave me a chance, and I took it. I took it. So 2016 was a pretty good fishing year. Pretty much zeroed out my costs, which is really good. People don't realize how hard that is to do it. I'm keep in mind for the next 3 years, I'm still running my company. You got to do the extra. You remember what I said? Extra, extra, extra. You got to do the extra work. So I was running my company, my landscaping company, and fishing the tour. 2017, 2018, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Those were bad years. I didn't catch them. Terrible. I didn't do good on tour. 2017, I cashed one check, one $10,000 check. I fished the opens in 2017 too, and I had like a third place finish on Douglas. Ended up with like $20,000 that I won in 17. And then 18, I only cashed one check. And so wasn't looking good. It was looking good at the beginning when I first started, and then all of a sudden it was not looking good anymore, right? And even though those 2 years, 17 and 18, were bad years, I didn't really catch them. There was something going on that I could feel on the inside, like in my heart and in my mind, and I could see it in my fishing. I could feel it. I was building some experiences that I didn't have prior to that. And I just could feel like, dude, the results that you're seeing aren't really me, is what I was feeling. You couldn't say it. People couldn't see it. And it's really none of their business anyway. I was getting some experience going to these different bodies of water, learning different techniques, and I was building some confidence in a few things about me for as a fishing personality that I didn't know I had. And, you would see me finish 60th, 70th, 80th sometimes, but I was coming away from those tournaments like, oh, I remember that next time I come back. Like things were clicking. I was seeing like, oh, all you had to do was, X, Y, and Z. So I was building some experience, and 2019, you got to see like what all those years were building up to. I won a tournament. So for like people that don't know my story, it just kind of looks like you kind of got lucky and won, but no, that was building. Like I was feeling that coming. Like even in 2017, there was one or two tournaments in 2017 that I thought I was going to win. I didn't. Douglas Lake being one that I finished third. It was a Mississippi River event that I did okay in, but I knew that I'd found something special, even though I didn't top 10. I knew what I could feel myself understanding bodies of water, and that all came to fruition in 2019, like 2 years later. But unless you know the backstory, you don't know that. It just looks like luck, but that's 100% not what happened. It was like a slow snowball of bad things and good things making this. That's why it was so emotional for me. So I won in 2019, and that funded like some other things that I was able to do. I was able to take that money that I won. Hold on, I'm moving too fast. I sent every last one of my clients a letter and let them know I wasn't coming back. That was the year that I quit. I said, nope, I ain't dig. I sold every piece of equipment I had. I got rid of everything and concentrated on just making a living fishing. I failed to mention too, when I started fishing the tour, I actually started guiding on my home waters too, which ended up being the best thing I ever did because it let me kind of build some skills and continue to fish. So I was guiding and making some extra money, taking people out fishing. The extra. So that was really hard. I was fishing the tour, guiding, and I was running my landscaping company. All three things. I just had to do the extra. It was not an option for me. It was not an option to go back to landscaping. So I did all three of those things. When I won, I took that money and I started investing that in another business that I kind of had seen myself doing. And that's doing okay now. Keep in mind, that's not that long ago. That's kind of like floating itself. And I also kind of let that fund a start of I guess you would call it TV show that you're gonna see air in 2022. So that's how my story kind of like developed. That's like the money didn't fall out the sky. I did the extra, and like every time I hear somebody say, "Oh, the family's wealth," "Oh, their dad had money," "Oh, they had inheritance," you know what? I hope my kids are those people. Because pointing out that somebody else has rich parents and they paid for them to fish, like, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? You want them to like if a guy is well off and his parents paid for it, or they have a business, or they're just independently wealthy, good for them. Like, wishing that wasn't a thing never puts a dollar in my pocket. So I don't feel threatened by kids that did have money for them. Like, I wish that was me. Like, I wish that I'm able to provide that for my kids one day. If that helps them, if it doesn't help them, then I won't give it to them. But I don't feel threatened by that. I don't feel threatened by anybody else's upbringing. I don't feel threatened by anybody else's path to this career. And it shouldn't make you feel threatened either. You shouldn't wish for the field to be more level, or the entry level to be, like, you shouldn't wish for that. You should wish for it to be hard. That way, the people that really want it are the ones that get to participate, and not just the ones that kind of want it for the convenience of it. So that doesn't bother me, man. It doesn't bother me not one bit. Like, everybody wants the boats to be cheaper, but they ain't gonna never be cheaper. Everybody wants the electronics to be taken away. We ain't never taking electronics away. Like, you don't have to work. You don't have to do some extra. You have to do some extra to get this. Like, think about it. There's 200 and probably 30 or 40, 50 pros in the world. And you're trying to do something where you're literally not even a 1% of the world, like a tiny, teeny percent, like a little bitty. You want that lifestyle and think you're going to get it just putting in the bare minimum. It's not going to happen, dude. It's not going to happen. They're going to make you work for this one. You're going to have to earn this one, even taste it. Not to do good, just to taste it. You're going to have to work for it. So probably throw that mindset in the trash. It's garbage, bro. That's garbage. Just throw that away. So that's a little bit of my story. I think that's the meat of it. If you didn't hear anything, I said a lot. The main thing I want you to remember is you're going to have to do some extra. You're going to have to do some side jobs. The answer to all your questions is side work. Every door that was open for me, every opportunity that I ended up having to get sponsors or to get money. I had one guy, I've told this story before, Mr. Ike. Mr. Ike gave me $3,000 to enter a series event in 2009. I wouldn't have got that job if I wasn't doing the side work. Mr. Ike, I used to cut his grass. I actually installed a water fountain at his house. My side work, and we got to talking about fishing one day because they had a tournament coming locally. He asked me why I wasn't in it. He said, and I told him I didn't have any money. He said, well, here's $3,000. But if I would have been lazy and not doing the extra work, Mr. Ike wouldn't have never known who I was, and I would have never got the $3,000. The work is going to open the doors for you. When I was playing bass at church, there was a scripture. I don't remember the exact scripture, the way that it read, your gift will make room for you. I almost come to tears just saying that out loud. Your gift will make room for you. Like, how much work you put in will move everything out the way. And if everything is just in your way, you ain't working. And even if that's a lie, it don't matter, because you're going to have to work for it. And you should want to. You should want to work for it, because it doesn't get any easier the further you get into it. So you might as well get used to it while you're fishing regionally. So a little bit of my story about how I got to where I am now. Side jobs, side hustle, extra. Just started doing extra right now. Put some extra work in. I really have faith, and I do believe that you will get what you work for. At some point, it will get to you. All right? I think that's it. I'll leave a link to that discussion on Facebook that prompted this video. You can subscribe if you want to. You don't have to, but I sure would appreciate it. See y'all.